Greetings, everybody. It's Jim. Hey, I hope you got your gaming in for the week. I definitely got mine in. I got a little Starship Troopers that I got to play a little bit from Avalon Hill. I played Scenario 3, The Invasion of Skinny 5. And it was a short scenario, and that was always nice to get in. But the thing is, it wasn't really short because I planned it that way. It was short because once I got routed. And that was it. But you'll see more about that in the video upcoming. But for right now, as you can see, I've got my Fantasy Trip shirt on, and I've got the latest hexagram here. So let's go over why you should be using hexagram number 7 from Steve Jackson Games. So let's talk about the hexagram number 7, starting with the cover. As you can see right there on the screen, it's Rick Hershey yet again, TFT iconic artist right there. And speaking of iconic artists, we are going to have a questions 3 with none other than Liz Danforth from the beginning, right? Definitely something about her style and others that have brought the artwork to the game. I mean, art has so much to do with how a game has a look and a feel. I mean, even on the first page here, we've got, and I've used this gentleman on, I've got some of his artwork, even in my game Dungeon Runner. It is William McAusland. And just look at that right there. I mean, that just screams old school art. Now, I know this guy's actually more recent, but he's got the idea down, okay? There's something about old school art. I mean, you can get your fancier stuff in there. I mean, we all seen some of the more beautiful stuff that was done in D&D in the 80s and stuff like that. But there was something always about pictures like this that just sent you somewhere else. I mean, Errol Otis is a perfect example of his iconic artwork for Dungeons and Dragons. And that's something that I think is lost nowadays because it's just too perfect. It's too pretty. It's homogenized. It doesn't take me anywhere that I haven't seen before. So definitely want to see more of Mr. McAusland here. And of course, Rick Hershey. But I would love to see Liz keep on pushing some stuff out for TFT. I'd love to see some actually bigger things. I know she's known for the counters, but I would like to see some big pictures and maybe even some more artists along the way. And who knows? Why not really do something heretical and get Errol Otis to do some TFT? I'd love to see that. I mean, he's done it for Swords and Wizardry, I believe it was. I mean, he's still doing work outside of D&D. And of course, speaking of heresy, we have Heretical Hexes. That's a PDF Kickstarter right now. The link is down below, or it'll take you to where you need to go if you get here late. What it is, it basically takes you from the 232 format for mega hexes, but also adds a 323 format for mega hexes. So you can create a rectangular room that's more aesthetically pleasing to the eye than just the 232 format. And it works very well. And it's been a light response to it, but that's fine. And hopefully, if things keep going the way we are, that will become a physical product. So by all means, please back it. So let's go back to what we're talking about in Hexagram here. And by the way, I have also under letters, which is usually what people write in on. I've actually had said something to Stephen, he's put it in, because it's all about the channel and how it's the TFT tutorials have gotten over 3,000 views combined. Okay, I made quite a few videos, but that's still a lot of views. That's a lot of interested new people. And if you are one of those new people, by all means, say so in the comments below. I'd love to hear that my work has brought somebody in to the TFT limelight. Okay, so I'd love to hear that. So the first thing we have is More Than Meets the Eye from Lester Smith. This is a complete fiction story. It is it's about a good 8 pages long, and it's pretty nice. I got through a few pages of it before I kept on leafing through because I was so tempted by other pages. But definitely a worthwhile read there to be sure. And they give you combat stats for everything else afterwards for the main characters involved. Now this one is by John Paul Bakshonian. Again, I remember that name because I know I screwed it up last time. Now, this time he's talking about temporary handicaps, and there's a lot of pages in here about handicaps, this one. Now, of course, if you remember handicaps, they were in the, the compendium or the companion for the fantasy trip, and they talked about that. But he goes on to say, that's they were a little bit too much. You get a few points and then you get this handicap, but it just felt like, and it's kind of true. It's like can you really expect anybody to really go through an adventure if they have any of these things for any length of time? I mean, why would you put yourself in a dangerous situation, especially if you were like a coward and terrified? Right? But basically, this gives you rules for temporary handicaps. All right, and so that's a nice idea. So he lessens them a little bit, makes them temporary as well, and so you can throw it at people a lot more. It makes it a lot more interesting because if somebody, because what will happen with these handicaps is people will game the system on that. Say, okay, I'll take this, but I'll do the perfect response to it by putting my points over here. Right? These are something that the game master can throw at somebody and say, here, how are you going to deal with this? So that's pretty good. There's quite a few pages of that, and then he's got some new handicaps as well. So definitely, game masters already got what their money's worth out of this. David Austin has written something nice about Patron at Large, the Lich Baroness. So basically, a Lich that has some good qualities, a redeemed Lich, if you can believe it or not. So basically, she's like 447 years old, 449 years old, and they've got the. If you've got this, you're probably going to get the bookmark as well. If you got this with the Kickstarter, she's got her stats on there as well. I think I can just grab it right back here, as a matter of fact. And you know what? I am going to show this off. Here's the Lich Baroness Dublona. I can't say these names sometimes. So that's there. I am going to, since I got it, I just got to show you my little box here that me and my brother made. My brother made the artwork, but I came up with the idea because I knew I was running out of space for my old cards. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to get some, I'm just going to get another box. So this is available at the Game Crafter at Parasol Games. So it's a nice sturdy box, man. This is solid as all get out. Okay. I mean, I've done it with this. I got that in that color. I've got it in another color over here. If I risk everything not falling because it was holding things up. So there, another color with the good old octopus on it. Using some of my brother's artwork from the Kickstarter, and heck, this, so I got some things going on there. So I'll just put these back real quick. Get back to the action here. Hold up. The thing about owning so much of this fantasy stuff is like, okay, where do I put it? It used to be in its own pile, and it used to be really, it's still in order. It's not falling, but it's like, it's getting to the point where I'm going to have to get another shelf. And it's like, wow, okay. And as you can see, I've got a plethora. I'm only missing a few of the original items. I finally found the old Melee. Not only did I find the old Melee, I found the original book as well. My book. I mean, there was a book in that one, but mine was with the cover with the shiny gloss and inside and stuff like that. So that's in there as well. And I picked up. I'm gonna have to go over those with you with another video because I got a lot of that stuff. I've been just addicted to the micro games for metagaming, and I feel no guilt whatsoever. But anyway, let's continue. So we were on handicaps there, and we got the Lich Baroness. Let's see here. Next, we're going to be talking about mortality options. Okay, and this is written by somebody who would definitely know about a system, Henry J. Cobb. We all probably know him from either Facebook or just on the Steve Jackson website. This guy is totally active, and he knows his stuff inside and outside. So he's talking about different ways to make things maybe less deadly, or not kill your characters. He talks about how crippling hits might be an option to take. It sounds like it would end a combat quicker, but at the same time, your character will stay alive because, let's face it, in the fantasy trip, there are magics available like regeneration potions and stuff, and it'll just, you got to wonder what society would really be like if people couldn't die that easy. I mean, it's not immortality, but it could be technically. I mean, it's like, wow, how does that work? Of course, they got the aging formulas and stuff like that. Then now we got Rapids and Falls, which is of course my little contribution. Let me see, where's the map at? There it is. Bam. So basically, in the nutshell, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody because this is just a combat encounter. Okay, you guys are at X. You guys get to get out to Z. And there's some hobgoblins in the way, and they are randomized. And there, of course, in the middle of that is a crevice, and you fall. If you fall from the slippery edges, you fall into the rapids and you got to make sure you're swimming. And if you're in armor, you're in real bad shape because you're probably going to drown, of course. But at the end of that is a drop off, but you're going to meet a miserable fate, of course, if you don't get back up. So basically, it's all about keeping your footing and doing battle. I don't want to spoil anything for you, sir, because if you might be a player, but you can use this. DMs can just throw this in at people, and then also, if you're just playing by yourself, you just want to play a combat encounter with four of your characters that you play solo with. Boom, put them in there. Just say they got there for some crazy reason onto their next adventure or whatever. But I had a lot of fun creating it, and I'm very glad Steve took it. So next is, let me see, is it the Spice Road Journal? Yes, it is, by Anthony Stushak. Another little piece of one of those campfire stories that you could put in, and you can even utilize this for your adventure, I believe, and you can, because it talks about well, I don't want to spoil this one, but there's something that can happen at the end. You roll, and it's pretty cool. So you can definitely use it in an adventure, or just to read, or just say why these characters got this certain thing and have some background. So, and it's like a page and a half, easy read, easy. Um, Stefan Jones this time talks about talking pretty in 4 easy lessons. Let me get rid of the map here. In 4 easy lessons, what he's basically talking about here is other languages. Okay, and now we can easily say, okay, you pay X amount of money, or X amount of XP, maybe some money, and you learn the new language, right? He talks about doing it a little bit at a time with pigeons and creoles and stuff like you learn a little bit, just enough, and that you could do that with a little bit of experience, so you can get a little ahead of the game. Because it is true, if you spend 500 XP and it's been a year or two since your last adventure, then you could say as the game master, okay, you learned that. But if you've been playing an ongoing weekly, you're playing this character's week or month out at a time, you want to see gradual increases in understanding. And it can make a whole lot of things about fluency and basically being able to speak the language just a little bit, and almost humorous and possibly dangerous. So that's pretty cool. Always useful. Stephon Jones. Speaking of useful, Steve Jackson goes into talking about the Zodiac Die. Again, I did a video on this, as you know, the link will be down below. But I have this die, and it's definitely useful. He gives a few more uses of it since he made it. Now there's a few more uses out of it that he talks about here. So I definitely would pick that up. And if you're going to pick up a 12-sided die, make sure you pick up that 12-sided D12, D3 resin that they also have there. Make it a twofer. And of course, and then, excuse me, Steve has another article about talking like an alchemist, using the alchemical language. I mean, some things you would understand, but something that's you and me. Characters may not understand what a fossil, right? In a fantasy world like the fantasy, or a world like Seedry, or at least in parts. And it is just like, I almost suspect, doctors, how they talk about the tibula, or I'm pointing out wherever the tibula in this is. It's like, why don't you just say you're, or whatever it's just like it just got speak in there. To protect the the, the protect their profession, kind of like professional wrestlers. They got a little language they use in to protect their profession and stuff like that. There's secrets of the trade. Magician secrets. Only this is, because truthfully, how can they charge what they charge if you kind of get more of an idea of what they do? Or even if you don't understand what they do and you feel like you know what they're talking about, well, then, then you can get into trouble. Okay, I guess I'm just getting into life right there, but that's how it can be. But this talking like an alchemist can actually is good for characters, because the thing is about alchemists and chemists in this game, and mechanics, right? Those are things I like to see more of. I mean, we all kind of know the alchemist to a point, okay, because got herbs and stuff like that. And its potions are a big thing in fantasy in general. But I would like to see something like this with the Mechanics Guild. How far do these machines go? I mean, are we at clockwork stuff in Seedry somewhere? I mean, that they're, the history of CD with Security Station, one of the old modules and stuff like that, they had technology all over, and something happened where, there was a lot of technology actually. Now, this next one's by Gene McGuire, and I believe Gene did the other article that I really liked, which was very useful utility in another hexagram. And this time, this one's about making your extras a little bit more extra. Okay. So otherwise, not just there's a guy on the side of the road with the beer in his hand. Eh. This one's Ardonarain street scenes, and I hope I said Ardonarain correctly. I know the book's been out for months now. I can't pronounce that correctly. I don't know if there's a pronunciation guide in it or not, but it doesn't matter because I would forget it by the time next time I used it. Some of these names are really difficult to say. Like, how about the Lich Baroness Itduborna? That does not roll off the tongue. I swear, you know who made these up? I bet you 10 to 1 it was Stefan Jones because he wanted to say, yeah, you want to read this? 50 experience points, sucker. He's all about languages lately, right? That would be a controversy. Put my tinfoil hat. Stefan Jones should be an Illuminati. Changing languages. Anyway, or have to learn a new language. That'll cost you like seven coin Illuminati coin. Anyway, this is our Ardonarain street scenes, and this is nice lot of little charts, not big ones, just little ones, and they don't just go over the appearance and hair color and all that stuff, but they do. I mean, it does, but then it goes into what they're exactly doing on the street at that time. Are they visiting with the vendor? Are they an emissary? Are they holding up an advertisement? Like, are they a town crier? Do they have an animal with them? Are they chasing somebody? I mean, all kinds of things in the busy city of Ardonarain. See, I even have to look at it to say it. But it's really nice utility there. I'm very glad with it. Now, next thing, of course, is as I mentioned, Liz Danforth has an interview by Steve Jackson called "The Questions 3," and I really like these because they talk about how people get into gaming. Generally, like I remember. Douglas Cole from Gaming Ballistic, who was in one of the earlier hexagrams, and I really enjoyed that. What I really like about this, of course, I've got a vested interest in this because my brother just got a job with Steve Jackson, and I think he's drawing the bestiary now. You might know him already from the Fantasy Counter Kit, which you can get at PowerCell Games. Link will be down below if you want some more counters for your favorite role-playing game. But I think you know which one you use it for if you're watching this. But basically, he got a job now because of that project from Steven, and now he's doing the art for the bestiary. So that's really exciting to see him work on that. He just got another 75 pictures to draw, and they look fantastic. I know I'm his brother and stuff like that, but if you've seen his stuff, you'd probably agree pretty quickly. The guy was an Origins award-winning artist for a reason. Definitely he's got his dedication in there. But I like to seeing how Liz went from that in the 70s, and he's doing some, magic. She's Shadow Fist, Legend of the Burning Sands, Everway, even BattleTech. I mean, she's bounced from fantasy to something like BattleTech. So it just says once you get a name into somewhere, you can make it. And I'm very glad to see that Steve Jackson definitely being a name for certain. Now, finally, we've got on the last part here is the Tarantus Bank and the Bloodhawks. Now, this is an outtake from our Ardonarain, and this is by David L. Pulver. Basically, it looks like something that was left on the cutting room floor just because it needed space. Like you got to cut time from a movie. Maybe they didn't have enough space for the book. They had to cut something because this should have probably been in there. It looked just a nice, but how a bank runs and such. The more interesting part about it is, of course, the Bloodhawks, which is basically their muscle. It's fantasy, so I don't know how a big government would probably work. Like here, we just write it off and let the taxes, take care of any defaulting on banks or loans or something like that. But here, this takes more of a loan shark approach, and they're either going to recruit you into the Bloodhawks to help pay off your loan, or you are going to have a small talking to. But anyway, guys, hexagram number 7, awesome stuff. I'm very glad to be in it. I hope you guys all grab it, and definitely hope you take an excuse to play, because that scenario I made, if you need an excuse to play a game you haven't played a lot, grab this, get into Rapids and Falls. It's a little combat scenario to play for like maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and you're done. And you feel like you got your gaming in. Definitely something you can play at lunchtime. So anyway, guys, thanks a lot. I'll see you next video.